So you're thinking about selling your house and you're wondering, should I make repairs to my home before I list it on the market? That's the question we get most often, and we're going to jump into a quick evaluation of whether you should make repairs to your home before listing or not. So there are two pools of buyers generally on the market. One pool of buyers are looking for a move-in ready home. They're not wanting a project. They're wanting a property that they can move into seamlessly, make the transition as easy as possible. And then you have those who are looking for a bargain, looking for a home that they can buy under value, put some money into it, and make it their own. So, which buyer do you want to appeal to? Well, it really all comes down to the math. For a seller, it's all about netting the most amount of money possible and getting your bottom line to the right price. So if you can put in 5 and get back 10, then it's worth doing usually in the mind of a seller. However, a lot of sellers don't realize how much of a headache some of these projects can turn out to be. And so sometimes we see sellers get started on fixing it up and only make it halfway through, and then they end up selling it as sort of a kind of halfway fixer-upper. That's sort of the worst of both worlds, because then you went through the headache, but you didn't get the good payoff in the end. Not to say that there won't be some payoff. Sometimes the impact can be negligible. If you do half of the repairs that are needed, it doesn't mean that you get half the money back. Sometimes it doesn't have the impact that it would if you'd went ahead and finished the entire project or the projects that you were planning to do. So the key point here is that there are two groups of buyers. You got the buyer that's looking for a seamless transition into the home, and then the one that's looking for a fixer-upper. Now, which one do you think is going to pay you the most money for the property? Obviously, it's going to be the one that wants to smooth transition into a home that doesn't require a lot of projects, that's move-in ready, turnkey. That's the buyer that's going to pay you the most amount of money for the home. I'm actually sharing my screen with you with a takeaway. This is a Zillow report they did where they analyzed more than 2 million homes for sale in 2025, which was the last year. And what it showed was buyers are also making one thing clear. They don't want a project. Turnkey homes sell for 2.9% more than expected, and remodeled homes command 2.2% more than similar homes that don't tout their renovations. When affordability is tight, the last thing buyers want is another expensive project waiting for them. So that's the situation. When you look at what's going on in the market, when people's pocketbooks are a little squeezed with everything getting so expensive and inflation being up, those people are not looking to go in and buy a home and then spend a lot of money on projects. Most people. So you're going to get the best bang for the buck if you can do the projects necessary to prepare the home for sale. What it's showing is that when you're appealing to buyers that are looking for a fixer-upper, that you can anticipate about a 15% reduction in expected value of the property. That is a significant reduction on value. So you really need to think long and hard about listing the home. If there are several repairs that need to be done and an obvious project at hand, it would be much in your favor to make those repairs beforehand. However, we understand sometimes you live out of state and you inherit a property, or maybe you're in a situation financially where you're just not able to go in and make those repairs. And for you, there's really not an option, and you have to put it on the market, and you're going to have to appeal to people that are looking for fixer-uppers. So be it. We understand that sometimes life doesn't give you what you want, and you have to deal with the hand you're dealt. So with that, we're not saying that we can't sell it. It's just you have to anticipate, a significant reduction in value. Now, the second point that we want to hear is that the pools of buyers are not the same size. The percentage of buyers that are looking for a move-in, turnkey, no project, hassle-free property that's ready for them to just transition into is 62%. The people that are looking for fixer-uppers are sitting around 28%. So there are some people that are kind of looking for something in the middle, not necessarily a fixer-upper, but something that's not necessarily all the way move-in ready. So there's some disparity there on some of these statistics. But think about that, 62%, which is a large majority of buyers are looking for something that's move-in ready. Therefore, you're going to appeal to the most amount of buyers, or you're going to get the most interest, and you're going to get the higher price for your home. So the pools are different sizes, which means that houses that are move-in ready typically sell faster and for more money. The last thing we want to touch on is what happens if you skip making repairs. Maybe you're not looking at doing all sorts of renovations, but is it worth getting a home inspection before you list your home, having an inspector give you a list of all these things that you need to fix ahead of time so that you can move forward into the next phase confident that you are really ready for that inspection to be done by the future buyer that puts a contract on your home? Well, buyers now are getting concessions at a higher rate than we've seen in a very long time. 39% of sellers heading into this year expected to pay concessions to a buyer. 39% expected it. What ended up happening is 46% of sellers that closed ended up paying for concessions. And a lot of that came about during that inspection period when the home inspector comes in and gives you a big old punch list of of things that need to be done. The buyers are seeing that, and they're asking for really a premium on getting those things done either before closing or after closing. Now, if you get that list before you ever put your home on the market, you have a little bit more flexibility. There's not as much pressure. There's not as many eyes on everything. You can go in and take your time and get some bids and get a better price on getting some of this work done. Whereas if you're on a time crunch and you're trying to move and transition to a new home, the buyers want everything done within a certain amount of time before closing. You got appraisals and stuff coming in, and so you need to get everything done in a really quick manner. You end up spending more money on the contract work or in the concessions to the buyer than you would have if you would have just got it done ahead of time. With those things in mind, we think that for most people, getting a home inspection done before you list, making repairs, doing some updates, preparing the home for sale is the best way to go. We know everyone has a similar complaint. What if the buyer comes in and they don't like the paint colors and they don't like the projects, and I spent all this money doing all this work? The reality is that you're going to get more money for your home if you do the work. That's just the statistical reality. Maybe you want to get a second opinion from a realtor, have the realtor walk through and kind of give you some suggestions on paint colors. Do what's selling in the modern era. Go with more modern paint colors. Do some more modern upgrades if possible. That'll help make sure that you get a good return on your investment. So with that, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, reach out to me. We'd love to help any way we can.